think we are getting there. Because it turned out because it was still doing the same thing. So now I'm doing it again, but across the top of the screen I see up and on. Okay. Now it's like you're about to join a hangout on air. Okay, I think. Okay. I think we're there.
Okay, I think you're coming in.
All right. Let's hang up.
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you have headphones?
I can get some. Right back. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear? There we go. Can you hear me?
Testing.
It's still coming through my computer. Can you hear me through this?
I'm not hearing you. Say something else.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Say it again. Yep. Say it again.
Yes, you can hear me?
Say something else.
Yes, can you hear me? Today is Friday, the April 12th.
Yep, I can hear you. Okay. Okay, all right. Sounds like we're cooking with gas, so we're getting ready to go live. Let me start this podcast there. 2 seconds. You're gonna hear some music and things, and then I'll do some talking and then bring you in.
Okay. Works for me.
Here we go. Make sure your phones and ringers and things are silenced.
Yes.
Here we go.
Gary Rockman Radio, it's time for Connection with Gary Rockman, your real estate rock star. Real estate is the center of all communities. Gary will connect the dots on how wealth, health, and education are all a part of a strong community through real estate. If you're buying your first house or building a real estate portfolio, this show will inspire and motivate you to go out and achieve your goals. And now, here's your host, Gary Rockman.
Hey, this is your host, Gary Rockman, your real estate rock star, and you are listening to Connection Connection. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Man, hope your week has been as great as mine has been. Lots going on. Lots going on. So, man, yesterday, folks, I went to an amazing event. So, I have a really close net of brothers, actually, even business partners. And one of them, Jerome Bailey, a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, actually invited us all, just 10 of us, to an amazing event called The Good Project. The Good Project is a non-for-profit in the District of Columbia with three brothers, three African American gentlemen who actually are graduates of Georgetown University, straight out of undergrad, started this non-for-profit where they are basically transforming lives in low, really not even low to medium. We're talking folk who are below the poverty line communities where they're actually not only just providing wraparound services for the children, but wraparound services for the entire family. Their goal is to bring these families up to standard, to bring them up to where they can sustain themselves. So they not only are there helping them get their GEDs, get employment, get better housing, but great group. I mean, there were some stories, man, I'm telling you that were just heart wrenching on where these folks, many of these young people have come from, and now where they are, where they're going, where how they see and see life. And so, great event. That was in DC yesterday. And so I was just so glad to be there. Callie and I are doing so many things like that as well. My wife's been a social worker in some of the worst areas of the country. So when I met her, she was in Cherry Hill, not Cherry Hill, but in Chester, PA. Then she left there and was in Alexandria, in probably the poorest community of Alexandria, Virginia. Then from there to Cherry Hill in Baltimore. So I mean, she's been in some really rough places. That is the places that she's called to serve. And she's even when her dad, who also was a school teacher in Baltimore, kind of was trying to encourage her not to go to Cherry Hill at the time. She's like, nope, that's where I want to be. She found, she just again just was in her element. And so we have done that on that side. I have been for the last 19 years housing low to medium income families, providing a safe haven for families to know that they can lay their head down somewhere, that they won't have to deal with gun violence and all of those different elements. So it's a great passion of ours to see others doing the same type of work was very inspiring. You hear a lot about things not happening. We won't see this won't change, the future, being bleak. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Callie and I are raising our children to know that they are the game changers. They are the ones that can just, do a paradigm shift of everything that we know today, and just change the entire program. So I'm glad that I have someone else today. My guest today is of similar background. Her and her husband are doing amazing things as well. I'll bring her in just a moment, but it wouldn't be right, wouldn't be connection if I didn't read the blog, right? So let's go to the blog. This is still the blog for March. Remember, I actually didn't post this or start sharing this until mid March. So we're actually still not due for a new one. If we're talking every 30 days. So let's
That's the house phone. 2 seconds.
Let's see here. So we are going to read the blog for March. What say you, white privilege? All right. So folks, you can get the blog by going, if you're getting this on YouTube, then you can go to GaryRockman.com. If you're getting this on YouTube, you can kind of actually see how to spell the last name, Rahman. If, of course, if you're getting this via the website already, then you know you can just go to the blog section of the website and get that as well. So uh, let's see here. So again, it is what say you, white privilege? What is America but a system of narcissistic privilege, so laced in greed and destruction it knows no morality? I have been a student of history as far back as I can remember. Because of this, I have grown with an understanding that in order to achieve greatness and not succumb to the then the desire for material success. I had to search my soul for what I believe is the real purpose of my own existence. It could not be a life of chasing money. It could not be one of power over others seeking worldly possessions, for these quests can be easier to obtain if I were willing to compromise my morality. I had instead chosen a life ultimately more fulfilling and what I believe more sustainable, however, oftentimes harder and more challenging. I too have struggled to not allow that little self on my shoulder to distract. I too have drifted away from my purpose to only arrive at a place of disappointment, not because I didn't hit my mark, but because the shiny object, ego, was so appealing it caused me to doubt my inner voice, to question my existence, and instead consider selling out what I know to be fool's gold by cheating and cutting corners. Thankfully, I have attracted guides, even angels, to get me back on the path that allows me to live a life of purpose and freedom. It is because of this blessing that I am so firm in my convictions. As I reflect on our current environment, where the cream rising to the top is becoming more apparent to the masses, I give pause. I, like so many Black people, have always known the system was unjust one. I have always known this firsthand as a young child from a single parent household living well below the poverty line, living in communities that lacked equal resources, even as equal to poor white children with similar backgrounds as mine. See, this new reality for the naive that rich whites and privileged cheat to get their children into schools is not new information for those living Black in America. It is and has always been our reality since the first ships searching for a new world, led by William Bradford, arrived at Plymouth Rock. Since the knowledge that Christopher Columbus could not have discovered land that had been occupied for thousands of years before his existence. It has always been Black America's reality since knowing we could die in every war fighting valiantly to defend our homeland only after winning to be treated worse than the enemy we died to conquer. The true reality is that not only Black America, but Black people everywhere have been the cream. We have played by the rules of a game never designed for us ever to win. We have and we continue to be questioned on our intelligence and ability. We still find no justice in a criminal justice system where equal and oftentimes lesser crimes deal with us more harshly and less humane. Yet, even with these blatant discriminations, we rise. We continue to bear the blows of hatred, and although not easy, we rise. So the real question is not rather do privileged whites cheat, steal, or murder for self gain, but rather in order to save their own souls and the souls of their future generations, will they change? This has been the true hope of Black people. It has not been one of our own acceptance, but that such an inhumane people would one day correct the error of their ways, so that we can all return to a time of true purpose and alchemy. If not, America will continue to be a system of narcissistic privilege laced in greed and destruction and no and destruction that knows no morality. And with this, its own demise is inevitably be itself. That is the blog
Wow.
Further ado, I want to bring on my guest. I have met this amazing woman just about a year ago. So I believe it was in August in Chicago, my hometown. Her and her husband were there as speakers. And I just had to get her on the show just because, man, some of the things she even shared when she was on the stage, again, it goes to the point of the blog, the cream rising to the top. She just showed that she has been the cream for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so without further ado, I want to bring on Cara Scott Dentley. Good afternoon and welcome to Connection.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. I've been saying that it's going to be a great show because we've been trying to put this thing together since we met about a year ago. Right. So it's definitely a pleasure to be here.
It happens. One of the things, my background is architecture. So we can, it's been having this show has been a new thing for me and just my personality type, right? So I'm used to, and right. You probably the same, being, an engineer, chemist and all of that. You used to, hey, this is things have to happen in an order and a time frame. And, and when those things don't happen, it's a bad day. But in film and in radio, things happen. It's part of it, and you just flow and adjust. And so I have become a more patient, understanding person, I think, in other parts of my life just because of this radio show. So I am glad to have you as well. And everything again is purposeful and on time. So this is the appropriate time to have you on. The perfect time to have you on, actually. And so again, welcome to Connection. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So let's
jump into this. Let's jump into this.
Let's go.
So, I mean, always the first question I ask all of my guests. This show is broadcast worldwide, and what we really want to do is we really want to make that deep connection, right? And there's a story in you that is only unique to you. But there are elements of your unique story that actually others have bits and pieces of, and they're wondering how too can I be a Cara Scott Dentley? How can I do the things that she's done, coming from the background, the situation, the circumstances that I've come from? So with that, please, as intimately as you will, share your story.
Well, of course, from the city of Chicago, and it's not that Chicago is all bad. Chicago is actually, we have pockets. And what I mean by pockets, we have areas that you can have one block that is like one of the best neighborhoods ever, that one block. And then just the next street over, it's a completely different environment. So I was raised up on a block that was predominantly working class, people that woke up and they were, the block cleared out by 9 o'clock, completely cleared because everybody was out working. My mom, a public school teacher, my dad, worked at Ford Motor Company on an assembly line. And so that's what I knew, and they really instilled in us. I grew up with 3 siblings, but there were actually 5 of us in total. But we were all, 3 of us were in the house, and we were told, you go to school and you get good grades and you go to college. And that was the path, my initial path that I took. And I try to remember what it was like to be in first grade. Like every grade that my son is in, I try to put my mind back there and I try to remember certain things, but I can remember certain things in like 3rd grade. And I think that's when the switch flipped for me to say, maybe I should, just really strive and work hard to get good grades. Second grade, I can remember my mom being called on different occasions, being called to the office. And I know this is early on, but I just try to remember what that path was like because I have a son that's, 6. So as I remember that switch being turned on and, being kind of competitive in my education at that point. And it went on 6th grade, I transferred schools at 6th grade and I was in a neighborhood school. And, when you get to walk home with your friends, there's some, you may even decide the next day, we're not going to school tomorrow,
Right.
So some things start to be different when you're going to school with kids that are right in the community. And that happened before. And I was smart enough because I was always open to how do you succeed? How do you make it? How do you become, how do you aspire to have all of these great things, be able to travel the world? I was always inquisitive. And I remember in 6th grade, I remember having this conversation with my parents and I said, I got my first D. And for me, that was like, oh no. And I said, this isn't going well. I need to transfer. And my mom was just, because she's trying to figure out what happened. So I had her to transfer me to another school. And in that school, I just kind of kept to myself. I kind of kept to myself because I wanted to maintain my sense of peace. Because you would see, friends getting into it, girl fights, and somebody out there needs to hear this because I know that the your audience right now listening at this hour should be, they aren't school age kids, but it may be someone who need to send this to their, they may need to let their children listen to this. But I had to be smart enough to know what it took for me to do what I felt like meant winning at that time. You still there, right? Yes. Okay.
Okay, Carlos, we lost you for a little bit there. So you're in can you hear me?
I don't hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. You can?
Can you hear me?
Can
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So
so tell me. So now you got your first D, and you asked to transfer
you.
to a different school.
I can see you.
Yeah, you can see me.
I can't quite hear you.
Okay.
But you can still hear me.
All right, at the top of your screen.
What?
Looks like it's.
That's not it. Come on now.
Come on. I can hear her.
Hello.
Folks, we can hear her. Yep, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yep.
You can still hear me?
I can still hear
you. Okay. So
That's
make a long story short, it didn't just start. You have to plant certain seeds early on because in the midst of all of that, yes, I saw certain things that could have taken me off of the beaten path. I experienced some things that could have taken me off the beaten path, but I had a foundation that was set inside of me, and I always knew, and it's not to, I think all of us know that we are destined for greatness, but through experiences and different things that come up, sometimes if that's all you see, that's all you know, and most of the time people don't know what they don't know. And, I kept stepping outside of the box. Every time I was given an opportunity, I wanted to take advantage of it. What is this? So I wanted to be different. So that was the first part of when I decided that I would go in and become it started out as an engineer, architect, right? It started out as an engineer, and I started my undergrad at Chicago State University. And I said, you know what? Because they gave me a full ride. And that was my whole thing. Somewhere along the way, I was told if I got my grades together, if I kept my my focus on my grades and took care of my business, that I wouldn't have to pay for college. And so I held on to that. So undergrad, you know, it was different opportunities that came up, University of Michigan, you know, Southern Illinois. I used to want to go to Jackson State because they had a banging band. And the flag girls, I was like, I want to be a flag girl. But I started to look at it and I was like, you know what? I want somebody to pay for me. And I told my parents, I said, if I can get someone to pay for my college, will you all purchase me a car? That was the agreement. And they came back and they said, yeah, sure. I said, all right, deal. So that was my why. And we always talk about you have to have something that pull you through when things get tough. Because I'm thinking, you know, it wasn't about, oh, when the test got tough, oh, I'm ready to quit. Oh, when I had too many assignments, oh, I'm ready to quit. No, my focus was on, you know, I get to get a car. You know, as long as I get my grades together, nothing could stop me at that point. And so I say that to say that somebody's out there listening to this and they need something to pull them through. If you can define why you are doing something, it doesn't matter what's going on in the meantime, you will pull yourself through it. Because when you commit to something on the other side, when you commit to that why, it doesn't matter. That means that you commit to everything in between you and the destination. That means if you're in a car and you're driving on your way to California, it doesn't matter if a snowstorm comes. It doesn't matter if you experience a little heat, a little rain, a little snow, a little sleet. It doesn't matter because your destination is to get you from here or wherever you start, your starting point, to California. You have to look at it that way. That means that you commit to all of that. Most people don't have the necessary discipline to keep going. They stop. And I don't know where that comes from. I hear people sometimes say, oh, that's not for me. Oh, I'm not this type, or I'm not this. How do you know?
Right.
Who told you that? Where did you pick that up from? Where? You may be missing out on a blessing, like you switched, right? You made a transition. You taking on something new. And sometimes that's what it takes to really live your life to the fullest. Try something new. You know, go after that thing that's pulling you. Go after that thing. You know, don't feel like, oh, no, that's not my background. I've never done that before. Everybody, no matter what it is something that you haven't done before. Like I haven't done this with you before. You know, before you step foot into a classroom, you hadn't taken that class before. You know, so sometimes part of life is just going out there and just going through the process and just enjoying the journey. So
I agree. Can you hear me now? You good? You're not hearing me too well. See, this is what we're talking about.
I'm not hearing you, Gary.
Even in the radio business, it's like all these different things that come up. Let's see if we can see if I can get her. She's not getting me. I'm hearing her. We're gonna try this a little bit differently.
Is it me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So let's do this. On your screen, go ahead and just mute your voice so we don't get like so you just come back. Yeah, you get the feedback. All right, cool. So I'm gonna keep you on here on the phone so you can hear me, and then mute you though on my phone so because I can hear you speak the other way. You say something? I'm sorry. There you go. So say something. One more time. Say something.
There we go.
All right, cool. So man, that's the truth, man. That story is real. something I share with folks as well, right? Like, you know, you get into a space when you are focused, right, where there is nothing else. I mean, I'm in this kind of like no limit zone space, right? And I share with those who understand in that place, you know, there's no limit. We don't get what we want, we will get. It's just a difference. There's nothing that actually things used to stress me out. I would be thinking about, you know, shit that hadn't even come at my doorstep yet. But it was just something that, oh man, this gonna happen. I gotta get, man, none of those things even penetrate my brain any longer, you know, my being any longer. It's like, yeah, I'm right here today. I'm gonna bang this out today, and then we'll worry about tomorrow if I'm blessed to actually be given that gift, right? So absolutely. So,
that's why the Lord prayers say, you know, give us this day our daily bread, if we just remember that.
teach them. Yeah, that's real. And so that takes me to, you know, now tell me this because I'm, you know, from Chicago. What neighborhood did you grow up in?
Southside, right out 79th Street.
Oh man, 79th and
David, my parents were on 82nd Day.
okay, yeah. I'm very familiar. So I grew up in the Chatham area. So 81st and Langley, went to Dixon, then CMS later. So I'm very
I graduated 8th grade from Brown.
Yeah. That's the Rose Line. I'm familiar. Absolutely. Yeah. So here it is. You know, you get the good grades. You go you get your undergrad scholarship full ride, and tell the folks what you get your degrees in, because there's not many black people. Period. You know, and there may be more black women today coming out in the last 10 years with these types of degrees, because black women are the most educated women on the planet today. But when you were actually in school, this wasn't the case where you were geared towards engineering or STEM or anything like that. So share with us what the degrees were in.
Yeah, so I was like getting tickets, right? I had a passion already for engineering because I already said that I wanted to do something that was geared towards math, and I didn't want to do math. So I was taught about engineering, and in the process of taking engineering classes, some of my professors shared with me that there were less than about 1% African American females in the field of physics. So I said, well, I was doing engineering. They said, well, this is a great foundation to even tell you even further, will give you a better foundation. You know, there's differences. It's kind of like the underlying base for everything that is done. Engineering is the application hands-on. And so I agree. And I finished Chicago State to go ahead and finish out my degree, and I did research all over the world. My research is published all over the world. And it gave me, it definitely set me apart, because one of the things I knew was that, first of all, I could do it. I could do it. I knew that I had the mental capacity that was necessary in order to, I had a mathematical brain, as people would say.
Okay.
So I had mathematical brain, but one of the things that it turned out like that, in 6th grade, I was just kind of like, that's what my brain is. And it turned into math, believe it or not. And I came to grips with the fact that math has been around for a long time. It's just something I'm not getting. And I pushed myself to understand what it was. I went on and suggested that, the relationship that I have with math is the grade and it's okay. And I traveled and I actually competed in mathematics. But it was how Chicago academic game me. And I put myself in that because I'm like, I can't say this. Because I would hear different people say that in the future, you have to understand math. And I'm like, okay, I have to understand math. So I went on physics. And after that, I worked in my $3 gold conference, and I wouldn't see anybody else. I might see one or two people. it made a bad thing. I was like, where is it? And not only that, I was researching different institutions, and they were like, I wouldn't expect that you would be scientists. What's happening? You know, but I got it. I didn't take offense to it. It just meant that from their experience, they didn't see anybody like me. So I understood that. You know, and that even made it even more important for me to show up and represent in a certain way. And especially when I would say I'm on the south side of Chicago. And they're like, what? You know, I'm like, no, like, wait a minute. You know, you mean to tell me? And they were like, you know, is it really bad? And I'm like, you everywhere has a good and a bad side. You know, you have a little bit of everything. Well, that's the rich, poorest of the poor, but that's pretty much everywhere.
Right.
So I really had to represent not just my household and my family and my parents and my roots. I had to represent outside of Chicago.
Represent.
And lay it down. So I had to show up like, I'm here, and I'm here. So that was my physics. And then when I was in grad school, I was on geographic information system. And that came about because the undergrad I was introduced to it, but I got to take on a math minor, a Spanish minor. I was like, look, I'm not being here for another anything. I'm ready to go, but I got excited about GIS. And so when I was in grad school, I went and talked to that advisor, and I had a background in math and physics. So with what research that my advisor at the time was working on, he was like, "You're perfect with algorithm development." And I'm like, "Where am I going? Algorithm development? Let's do it." So we did a lot with healthcare mapping, a lot of exciting things. I worked on different government contracts, and then I came back to Chicago and worked for the federal government for about 9.5 years. And then I was like, okay, I am ready to get out into the world and just do really what I felt like I was called to do from the beginning. And to be honest with you, I had the passion and to learn. I had the passion to grow. And the math and the science and the physics and the STEM, it was important. It was very important for me to get to where I am today. But I knew that it wouldn't be long term. I knew that I wouldn't retire from it at the age of 50 or 60. I knew that. But I knew that it would be important for me to have that foundation to, spread the message to other people, especially for people that look like me. When I was going to the school system, they're like, are you, in the industry, or are you in fashion? I'm like, no, I'm science. They like, science. I'm like, yeah, and so that's always exciting to kind of shock people with that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, you're beautiful as well. So, I can see how sometimes maybe from first approach, I remember you very fashionable. so you the full package. Like I said, you're the cream, right? we got it all. We got brilliance in mind and body. So it's all good. So you actually retire after 9.5 years, I believe it is, and you go into entrepreneurial hat on. And so, what was that like for you? And I want us to go. Let's take a step back. We need to kind of re-ask that question. From there, I got friends, same as I'm sure as you do, who have worked for the government or they've worked for corporate America. They made really great salaries, high net worth income producers, some of the top execs, and VPs, and all of that stuff. And when we talk about entrepreneurship, when they watch me and they kind of, man, Gary, you've been doing this a long time. And they see my success, but they're still apprehensive. So, here it is, you're a successful scientist. What makes you, what's that drive, and what's that feeling like to give up something that, good government job, right? And our parents, it's always, good government job. Benefits. what's that feeling like, right? Doing that transition to make that leap.
It could be scary. It can definitely be scary. To be honest with you, not anybody who makes it sound like it's easy. It's not. It's all about how you approach it and mentally how you process what's happening. I didn't feel like I was walking away from something that I needed. I felt like, some people say, burn the bridge, So you don't feel like you need to go back. But I didn't burn any bridges. It's not necessary. I did, every job that I've ever walked away from, they always told me, if you ever wanted to come back, it's something to the heart. The biggest thing was walking away from people that I used to travel with, that I traveled with the government. I did a lot of good conferences. I was all over the place, all over the world, subject matter expert. There's a lot of great stuff happening. But it gave me comfort and solace in knowing that I was going after my passion. Mm-hmm. And it gave me a lot of confirmation when I would start having dreams. My dreams started pushing me out of the door. Like, I had dreams that I was flying, and so all these exciting things were happening. I had dreams that I was coaching people, walking along the path, and just pointing out just riches to people, just walking, not me physically picking up, but as I'm walking and talking, like, don't miss that. And look over there behind that rock, pay attention to your surroundings. That's yours, and I'm just pointing out all of my dreams. And I'm like, man, and I understood that if I stayed where I was at, a lot of things and lifestyle, that's amazing, lifestyle that I wanted was not possible with what I was doing. That was one of the things for me that I was just like, there's more out there. Now, of course, like the first, when I initially told my parents, look, I'm in the government. My parents said, oh, well, that's it. You don't leave it. Good job. Right. Good job. What's the benefit? Just like you said. And, and you hear that enough, no matter how strong you are your conviction. If you hear that enough, and these are your advisors, no matter who it is, your husband, wife, it could be you, children, whoever. Your best friend, confidence. And you hear it enough, there's a part of you that's like, they may be trying to protect me from something. But I had to get quiet and get still long enough that I had to start observing things from a different place. So one of the things that I heard just about making that type of transition was work one day. And I looked at the oldest person on my job. And then I looked at the person with the most seniority on my job. And it didn't have the lifestyle that I wanted. And it really just comes down to that. And I also understood that no matter what decision I made, once transition over into entrepreneurship, it would take some time to build it. So I didn't just, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And some people, they find themselves get frustrated because they want to just go, and you have to build, you have to have something happen. So before I left, I was making additional money, in my network marketing business that a lot of people are like, I'm not doing that. It's very open and you can make extra money that you weren't getting before. So for me, I was bringing in this extra money and I was stacking. Because it didn't require a lot of time. It didn't require a lot of money, but it was a way that I could make some money, some extra money that would give me some cash. So launch is my entrepreneurship. And this is the piece that people don't mention in that transition. So I was like, look, let me get this extra money. Some people want to go, splurge, and y'all, especially now social media. Hey, look at my handbag, look at my new shoes. No, I was stacking my chips. It was down to the point that I changed my car. I switched out my car so I could lower my payment. I went from a Range Rover to, I had my Range Rover and went to Lexus. And I was like, this is good. I like my Lexus. Boom, right, perfect. Let's go. So I made a lot of changes, and I took that money and I started to invest it in stocks.
Good stuff.
So, it's just so many different things that was happening. I had my property. I was ready to leave it, not all away, but I was ready to go into something smaller for my son and I, and rent my place out because I'm like, I'm paying a lot. And it's not that I couldn't afford it, but I knew that I had to get goals.
Right. Yeah. No, that's positive. Now you kind of had me a little bit talking about I went from Range Rover to a Lexus. That ain't quite a step down.
It's not.
But no.
And the thing about it, so we still have it in the family. My leg, this is the second, like, if I had a chance and I went through it again, so I kept, like, wait a minute, because I'm like, look, I need to be very realistic, but I feel, look, if one of the oil change in a Range Rover was like the price of the road in my leg. So what is the price of the car? It was the upkeep. It was the maintenance. It was the way I was driving.
Right.
Yeah, well, I was like, okay, here, all right. You can be a fool, you can be realistic. So it was those subtle changes. So no, I'm not put the Lexus down. I don't need all Lexus. Okay? I'm like,
No, that's real talk, and it's you hit on a lot of good points, right? I have been one of those guys. It was amazing. I used to be a financial advisor. One of the main things I would look at people that really weren't doing well with saving or investing in things, and I tell you, the first thing I would try to let people keep stuff they really like to do, right? But the cable bill to me was just like, yo. But the boob too, we have to cut the boob too. So I got known as the guy that would cut your cable. I was a financial advisor. They knew that I was going to cut the cable. But so I get it. And so so you had that cushion. So you made that transition a little bit easier on yourself because you were actually thinking forward and actually putting the chips away because you knew this is what you wanted to do, and that's great. And I commend you for that. And I hope the others can identify with that as well. But there are those that like you said. Okay. So folks, this is how it is, right? So y'all heard we talking about how you gotta be flexible. So even in connection, I have learned to be more flexible. Dealing with the children, dealing with my wife, if you're married, those of you who are married, man, you better be flexible. You better learn how to roll the punches because it doesn't always happen the way that you plan. It just doesn't happen. What you do, you get to, as Kurt said, if you focus, no matter what comes on that journey, no matter what obstacles come, no matter what hazards come, when you focus, you get to that destination. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get to our destination. And hopefully you're all enjoying this as much as I am. Just got an amazing story. I just feel like to get true to what the purpose is of just representing connection. So, yes, indeed. So you're back together. You got to in, or you told them to beat it.
A little bit. No, it's okay. I get it.
All right. Cool. So I want to get into you guys are doing a few things. You got an amazing husband as well. I really actually want to get him on the show at some point as well. But you guys have started, let's say, Limitless for Women. So what is Limitless for Women? And I want to also talk about your non-profit organization work that you're doing as well.
Okay. With Limitless for Women is an organization. It's actually more geared towards women. For women, about women. It doesn't exclude men. We definitely, counter people. But, a lot of times with women, there's this competitiveness healthy, but when it's not healthy, that's never good for anybody. So we come together where we can just be very authentic. Just, because one of the things I realized about women, women want to be loved, want to be cherished, we want the best for our kids, we want to feel good, we want to feel beautiful, and to put us, all of us in a space to just reinforce that, to just give ourselves a place, a platform where we can speak, where, all of us have a story, like you did, you mentioned that, all of us have a story where we can just come together, where we can cry, let it out, dance, have fun, and then go back to our respective places and still be able to nurture and to be able to give. And you know what I'm saying? If you don't have that space, we will give on empty, and that's it. You want to be able to come back and be like, open the door for your husband, like, hey, baby, okay, because this happened.
Right.
If you come to the door, like, what's wrong with you? Wait, when you come back like, oh, that was perfect, get a chance to do silly stuff, hear about other, life hacks,
right.
Different things that, that you probably didn't even think about. Another 20 to the back, like, hey, I think this works for that. Wow, just girl talk. So, we love that, I really feel like, and this is so real to me. When I meet another sister, it doesn't matter where she comes from, she can come from the other side of the world, she could be, it doesn't matter. I still look at this woman as a sister. I still approach that woman the same way that I would want somebody to approach me, that, hey, we all just want to win. We all just want to win.
That's right.
And I'm able to get that kind of feedback from my fellow sisters. It doesn't matter. When I'm sitting in the airport, I connect with people everywhere. Because it's just, we were all just having like wrong in this thing called life.
Right.
There's no competition. There's no competition. There's more than enough. There's a surplus of all the resources that we need.
Right.
And when you operate in that space and you really have an open spirit, when people meet you, sometimes in a room with the air is thick, but I let us know this is not bad. How we do it.
That's right.
And it's not even about breaking the person down, it's building them up.
That's right.
And I'm going to release a book talking about this because, one other person sees that you are authentic and they feel the spirit, the energy is true.
That's right.
And they see in the spirit like, oh, okay, you're real cool. And it's like, yeah, you're cool. We all, we like each other, we are on the same page. And sometimes people can have, different events and different things that happen in their lives that can put them on guard. That can either make them feel like they're not good enough, the only way we get to the top of the hotel, or talking bad about you. But when you show a person a different way, when you treat a woman or a man as they are, they will remain as they are. When you treat them as they could be, they will become what they should be. And that is how I.
All right. Yes, indeed. So limitless for women is kind of like a recharging type of event that you guys do.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. No, that sounds really great. Now, you also, like I said, you guys are into a non-profit. It's called Always Amazing for Children's Teens. Okay. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, it all started because we were always giving. And our company said, you are like, something that's how it is giving money. You need to have a foundation, a nonprofit, something so you can account for the dollars that you are putting out. And so we started with that. And we help seniors, veterans, and children. Like now we're helping 100 children write books.
Okay.
So they can tell their own story so that the narrative is in their hands. It could be what they want their lives to look like. It could be them just putting pen to paper
Right.
What's
Right.
up?
Yeah.
Because of, X, Y, and Z. You come from a single household, you live on the south side of Chicago, it's a place with violence, so many different things. And if they're not hearing it from that household, they hear it at school, from that computer, because it's what they're being told. And then they travel outside of their city. I would go to my reunions in Mississippi, and it's like, you just walk down the house, people get shot. Come on.
Right. They believe it's Chirac for real. They believe it's Chirac for real. I've had the same conversation.
Yeah, it's so important. I'm glad I was strong enough to not, I think to do what they saw. They had never been to Chicago. So they didn't know.
Right.
They only, they had their own paradigm which they were operating in. And that was the thing with people just all around the globe. We have to set a tone. We have to be the ones that raise the bar. We are what they see. And, sometimes some people, we have the closest thing that they have close, to anything. So when they see Chicago, I am the Chicago that they think they're going to see anybody from Chicago. It's the same thing for people that are, the wrong people that are not believing you. The closest thing that they have, oh my God, it's like, so if you run around that running them up, that's what they see.
Right.
So you have to represent it a certain way. So, I was away for us to take a group of kids out down the Disney World for the anniversary of what is it? What were the kids? Not the Mickey Mouse kids, but the Mickey Mouse Club.
Okay.
It's the anniversary. So,
okay, what's that?
That is in June.
Okay.
It's in June. So we have sponsors and contributors, donors who have helped to make that possible. And it's just amazing.
Yeah. We got to talk offline more about that. My brother is one of the executives for Disney World, and so I'd love to connect you to and see if there's something that can possibly from that as well. And then the other thing is that my kids actually, we're looking at a date in June. They actually have their own stock trading company. And they teach other kids how to trade stocks. So they got a YouTube channel so you can check out this stock of kids, and they're getting ready to launch their fee-based website where people will actually be able to follow trades and learn how to trade with them. But they have a training in Orlando sometime in June that was one of the days we're looking at. I was like, man, maybe make it a Disney World kind of fun time as well as the business. But so let's definitely talk offline and see if we can connect. My ship who is he and his wife are amazing people as well. I'm sure they just love to embrace you guys and do what they can.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so many just great things that's happening. I just feel like that when you put it out there, what it is that you're going to do, what you accomplish, like the energy that you put out, it doesn't even matter who the person is. You're really supposed to show up and reach with y'all on the other side of the globe.
That's right.
I wish to reach you every day.
The universe bends for you. I wrote a blog called $1 million worth of work. So the whole thing is that none of us become successful by ourselves, right? It's really work, right? We got to just put some work in, but you don't become multi-billionaire and all that, multi-millionaire just because you worked just real hard. You had other people who came into your life who people you didn't know, right? People you had no idea you would even meet that open the opportunity to help this, to help that, to launch this, so on and so forth. So we're speaking the same language and applying that. So absolutely. Like I said, everything is purposeful. So we're right on time with that. So, and then you guys also service seniors and veterans. So how does your program assist those folks as well?
With the veterans, we do a lot of different things, different programs, specifically more so with because they have the story. They have stories that need to be told. And it needs to be told in their own words, because what do we do most of the time we hear that come back, oh, she better all things service. But we really don't know what does that entail. What is service? You can't kind of say, well, what was your capacity? How did you serve? They will be more than happy trust employees, because every time I talk to someone who has served, they want to share some more. And I think that they should. What does it take to fight a war? What does it take? Because it's not necessarily even combat. Sometimes just being in the open, being away from family, there's a lot of sacrifice, and I was working with the government, probably about 95% of my colleagues were veterans in the military. And some were still serving, on the colonel, you still learn on weekends, and just that undying commitment and certain things that would happen. There was always, no man left behind. Always no man left behind. I was just all the people in my life. It let me know that camaraderie. It was real. We would travel, and we would dinner, and I would be gone for weeks at a time, and it was always making sure that the bases was covered. It was just something that they just did. So with that, it's just, they just can't. We have to make sure that everybody was good. It was not operated as a way. It was you over there, and I was we were all part of it. Everybody was not cool. Everybody had nobody. If everybody had a guy on the train, sometimes we would have to take a train to different destinations. Somebody would wait back for other person to just make sure that everybody is all together. It was just, I love it. So with that, I would sit sometimes just to tell a story. So that's one of the next projects that we have for them.
Okay.
But here, we have already said they'll be able to get in with the freedom, just be able to do certain things for them. And there's a lot more that could be done, and a lot that depends on, resources and donations, but we do what we can, and that's always a blessing and a blessing to do it, and it's amazing. And then of course the same thing with the seniors, they love to have the story, they love to tell the story. There's some ladies that are part of my husband's church, and I say my husband's church because that's the church that he grew up in. But they have these prayer calls, and they make them, and they send them out for people, and to make sure that there's a prayer call going out, that people are receiving their calls, and just having different things for them to do, to be able to stay active. It's very important. Very important.
And that's great stuff. That's great stuff. Yeah. Woo. Yes, indeed. Guys should be applauded. Yes, indeed.
One of the things that I know that you're really saying, one of the things that we've been discussing, being able to do is helping people with surgery in their home. Because I think that goes unnoticed, that goes unfocused, that goes unsaid. Simple things like putting the additional railing in their bathroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We have so my mom actually passed 2 days after my daughter was born. But she was 71 years old, and she still was pretty mobile and all that stuff. But then my mother-in-law had a stroke. And so, they're both, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, both in their 80s, and you do have to go, and even when they come here, the guest room has those things to assist her getting out of the shower or getting on the toilet and things like that. So it is important to talk about. And my wife and I even actually own assisted living here in Baltimore, so absolutely, so we definitely get that. It is important for others to think about that. We do kind of overlook everything. We're not in that situation, which brings me to a point where that light really came on for me. It's about 6-7 years ago. I And it was so amazing, like, right, you're on crutches, you get this big old movie, like, how people just walk right in front of you. They're not considerate or thinking about it. But I think a lot of it, again, is because they're not in that situation. So it's good that you bring that awareness back to forefront that we need to be more conscious about how we deal with our seniors on a day-to-day basis and making sure they can do their life skills in a safe environment. So that's a good piece. So you guys also now, so tell me a little bit about total life change, health, and wellness, because you guys have been making some big bucks and teaching others how to make those big bucks as well. Again, I have an audience of, well, my focus on this show is connecting dots to wealth, health, and education, and really focusing on people in urban areas or very rural areas where resources are very plentiful. And so I really try to enlighten them on different opportunities that may be out there that they just know nothing about, right? And so I know that you guys have tapped into some of those things and have been quite successful. So share a bit about that.
Well, it goes back to just what you said, wealth, health, education, and what we provide is so good when Jack Allen, the CEO of the company, his whole thing was to provide products that were all natural that could help us sustain wellness, a natural way of living. And so what we've been able to do with that is it's just been a win-win-win all around the table with everything that can help a person with their health, can help a person to make additional income, that can help a person to understand what it takes to be successful. Instead of just throwing a person out there to the rules of the saying, go ahead and have it. We make sure that we have training. My husband has been involved in the industry now for over 25 years, and he's documented about having helped over 81 people become a millionaire. Yes, it's amazing. So there are certain principles that are very important, that are applicable in any business, but this is a great start or a great place to transition for a person, because if a person doesn't give you the ropes, tell you how to do it, and you're just ready to just leave your corporate office or keep on with your career, no one wants to take what you find yourself going back to what you left and what you don't want to do, because you did not understand that there were certain principles that you had to apply as far as being consistent, having the right discipline, knowing how to keep going in spite of challenges. Knowing that it's because the skill set is one thing, but the mindset is the part that most people need most heavily. Most people don't know how to honestly think on their own. And I know that sounds crazy, but the average person is like, yeah, what I did. Everybody don't know. There are people that you see them at work, they're sitting there and you're like, what do you do? Well, I'm sitting because I'm like, what to do? Because they've been taught from grammar school, high school, college, military, somebody always tell you what to do. So when you transition over to entrepreneurship, if nobody tells you what to do, you just kind of sit there, just waiting on somebody to tell you what to do. So it's not a bad thing, but we understand that. So that's part of the mindset and the training that we have for our people. So the way that I look at it is, because I was one of those people, like, I have my degree, but people like, why can't you walk away from your job? Don't you want to things, like he had to take a consultation, and now people are like, oh, we're so proud of you. We know you can do it. Just all these different things before it. It's all about how you perceive it, right? We talked about that. I wasn't too sure about it or what it was about where it from it. Like I said, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Being able to do this in the middle of the day. It's a lifestyle being able to go to my little school in the middle of the day, to be able to go on a field trip, to be a parent if I want to. It's all those different things I did not have access to. But it's that part of it. And as far as the money part, that part comes, the more people you serve, the more people you help, the more money you make.
again. Say it again.
People don't want to put that on their own back. They don't know how to keep going. They get in the face of any type of adversity. You know, my cousin comes that, you know, I had people come on the scene as soon as they came on, they would right back off. But that didn't stop me. You know, they say, you know, they call two people, nobody, you know, was interested. And they're like, well, maybe this isn't for me. But if I got you serious, that let me know that they don't have a big enough body of story or what their expectation of what they're expecting to get out of it is not big enough. And that's the same thing you have people that go to school, come out and don't even have a degree, but they went because they applied. Their tribe was, they didn't have a big enough why. But they understood that this thing, whatever it is that you're going after, this thing can set me free. This thing can give me the lifestyle that I want. And freedom of time. The money came as a result of helping more people. The more people I help, the more people money come in. So I'm like, with that, so let me go out and find more people. And I don't get caught up in the people that tell me, you know, it's not about this. I can't focus on that. That's not going to get me to my destination. That's not going to do it.
That's right.
You just keep going. So, you know, and what we've been able to accomplish over here, I feel like, you know, it's not for everybody, but it could be for everybody.
Good deal. Good deal. So how can people connect with you if they want to do more, you know, get involved in some of these things with you guys, or just kind of follow you and see what you're doing? How can people stay in touch with you?
We have quite a few things. They can go to Dentley.com. But the other thing is they can go to, we have an online show where they go to the JamesDentleyShow.com. But either one, they want to get some information, where they can email me at Kara@inspired, the number 2, speakers.com. And, you know, and the thing is that helping people to win. We don't count for opportunity or anything. You know, we have a speaker camp that, you know, that we tell people to get international exposure. Just so many different things. So it's just, hey, we just open up opportunities. And when we do that, you know, the person is on the grab and say, you know, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I'm looking for something, you know, to help me go to the next level. It could be, you know, just, hey, you get to decide. Once you're curious, you gotta know when to move.
Right.
Because everything is an opportunity. There's something called business opportunity.
That's right.
So, you know, when people have a lot of opportunity, you know, we just show up. The agents are showing up. So, you know, you gotta show up for you. You know, we show up for us. Everybody gotta show up for themselves. You know, I'm
That's right. That's right. And so great, man. So when is your book? Did you drop the book, or when you drop your book?
It will be out before September. My birthday is in September. It will be out at least before September. I'm actually in the process of working on it now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, so we're excited to get you back on when you drop the book, so you can share that, so people can buy that up, we can make that a bestseller. You know, I just want to make sure, like I said, I want to stay connected with you and James as well. And so we'll do more talking offline as well. Like I said, I think there's some synergy here that we can continue to blossom and some great, amazing things. So I want to again, thank you for being on. See all that we had to, you know, again, right? We, you know, sound wasn't working over here, so we got to think of something outside the box to do over here, but we had to capture this. And so I'm glad that we did, and that you were patient and were with me. And no matter the technical difficulties we may have come across, we were able to get it done. That's Chi-Town, that's Chicago. See what I'm saying? Two brilliant Chicago people working together. Folks, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. This is your host, Gary Rockman, your rock star. Until next week, keep moving forward.